Okay, picture this. You step off the plane, feel that warm, humid Thai air, smell the jasmine, the street food. You're there. And you start dreaming, right? Maybe a villa soaked in sun or a sleek condo looking out over those incredible turquoise waters. It's that ultimate tropical dream. An amazing place to live, maybe even invest. But here's the thing. While that picture is super appealing, actually figuring out the property rules in a new country, it can feel like, wandering through a maze, a beautiful maze, but still confusing. So that's what we're doing today. Our mission is to cut through that confusion, make sense of Thai property regulations, specifically for expats like you. We're taking a deep dive into this really insightful guide called Thai Property Regulations Every Expat Should Know. Ooh, ooh. And this comes straight from Ocean Worldwide. They're a luxury residential real estate agency, been based right there in Phuket since, wow, 2004. They were really specialized in those high-end properties in Phuket and Koh Samui. And joining me to unpack all this fascinating stuff is our expert guide. We're tapping into the kind of deep expertise you'd find at Ocean Worldwide. I mean, their director, Sandra O'Neill, she's personally guided literally thousands of families and investors over the years. So we're in good hands.
That's right. And our goal here really is to give you a clear roadmap, because understanding these rules is just crucial. Doesn't matter if you're renting short-term or making a big investment leap. We want you to walk away with clarity on ownership, what paperwork you actually need, and, some solid tips for a smoother ride so you can navigate this whole thing with confidence and hopefully avoid any nasty surprises.
Okay, let's get into it then. Let's unpack this. For so many expats, the absolute first question, the big one is, what can you actually own in Thailand? Because it's often really different from back home, isn't it?
And that's spot on. Yeah, it really is. The good news first. Foreigners can own condominiums outright. You can buy a condo unit, and it's yours. Full legal ownership.
Okay, that's good to know.
But, and this is big, but there's the 49% rule. Heard of that?
Vaguely, yeah. Explain that.
Okay, so it means that in any single condominium building, no more than 49% of the total sellable area can be owned by foreign nationals.
Right, so nearly half, but not quite.
Exactly. Once that 49% cap is hit for foreign ownership in a building, that's it. No more units in that specific building can be legally sold to non-Thais. It's about maintaining a balance,
Makes sense.
And, crucially, the money you use to buy it. It must be transferred from overseas, and it has to be in foreign currency.
Ah, okay. Why is that so strict?
It's not just red tape. It's vital proof that it's a legitimate foreign investment, and it ties into Thailand's anti-money laundering efforts, too. You get a specific bank form for this, the foreign exchange transaction form.
Right, okay. So condos are definitely an option with those specific rules. But what about land? Because that villa dream, maybe in Phuket, that often involves a house with its own garden, its own plot. Is owning land directly possible?
Yeah, that's the dream for many, isn't it? But unfortunately, direct land ownership by foreigners, it's generally prohibited under the Land Code Act. It's a core principle, really, protecting national land assets.
Okay, prohibited. So how do expats get those villas then?
The common and, importantly, legal way around this for houses or villas is a long-term lease.
A lease, okay?
Exactly. Thai law allows lease agreements for up to 30 years, and there's usually a possibility of renewal built in. So essentially, you lease the land for that long period, and you own the actual building, the structure on top of it.
30 years. Can you get longer? I feel like I've seen ads for much longer leases.
Ah, yes. You probably have. And here's a really crucial point, something that often catches people out. Only the initial 30-year term of that lease is fully protected by Thai law.
Only the first 30?
Yes. You'll see things advertised like 90-year leases. These are typically structured as an initial 30 years, plus options to renew for 2 more 30-year terms.
Right.
Now, while that's common practice, those renewal options, they might not be fully enforceable way down the line. If a future landowner decides to challenge it, you could face issues. It's not as legally ironclad as that first 30 years.
Wow, okay. That's a big difference.
It really is. And that's why it is absolutely vital to get your lease agreement properly registered with the official land department.
Yeah.
That registration makes it legally binding and gives you the strongest possible protection. It's not just a private contract between you and the landlord.
That registration sounds key. So are there any rumblings about these rules changing? Any talk of making it easier for foreigners to own land, perhaps?
You're right. There have been discussions, proposals pop up now and then. For example, there's a part of the Land Code Act, Section 96Ds, that technically does allow a foreigner to own a small plot of land up to 1 ray, which is about 1,600 square meters for residential use.
Okay, so it is possible.
Well, here's the kicker. It's tied to a very significant investment. We're talking at least 40 million baht, invested in specific Thai bonds or other assets the government deems beneficial.
40 million bow. That's a lot.
It is. And honestly, this exemption is very rarely applied for. Plus, it's non-transferable, so you can't pass it on to your kids or sell it with the land attached.
So practically speaking, not really an option for most people.
Exactly. So while you might hear talk of changes, significant shifts that make it easy for the average expat to buy land directly, they haven't really materialized yet. It's always good to stay informed, especially for long-term plans like buying property in Phuket. But don't base your decisions on hoped-for rule changes. Stick to the current legal structures like condos or leases.
That's really clear advice. And it leads us nicely into, well, the potential problems. What are some of the common traps or pitfalls expats fall into when trying to buy property in Thailand? This feels like where things could go really wrong if you're not careful.
Absolutely. This is definitely where caution is needed. Probably the biggest danger, the real minefield, is using illegal nominee structures.
Nominee structures, what's that exactly?
It's basically trying to sidestep the foreign ownership limits, especially for land, by having a Thai national hold the property in their name, legally, but only on your behalf. They act as your nominee.
I see. Someone holds it for you.
Precisely. But let me be absolutely clear. This is illegal in Thailand.
Yeah.
The government is very strict about it.
Illegal. Okay. What happens if you get caught?
If caught, you could be facing hefty fines. Even worse, the authorities could potentially seize the property. But beyond the immediate legal risk, think about the long term. What if your nominee changes their mind or runs into debt or passes away? Your entire investment is basically reliant on their goodwill and circumstances. Trying to get it back could be an incredibly messy, maybe impossible legal fight. It's just not worth a gamble. It seems like a shortcut, but the risks are huge.
That sounds terrifying, frankly. What about other shortcuts, like trying to save money by doing things off the books? Maybe under-declaring the price to pay less tax.
That's another big red flag area. Undeclared ownership or under-declaring value. People might try this to avoid transfer fees or taxes. Does it work? It's incredibly risky. If the authorities find out, and they have ways you could be hit with back taxes, serious penalties, plus interest. But maybe the biggest problem is this. If it's not properly registered at the correct value, you might lack solid legal proof of your ownership or the actual amount you invested. If any dispute comes up later, say with a seller or even boundary issues, you're in a very weak position legally. Everything needs to be above board, properly documented at the land department from day one.
Okay, so trying to cut corners seems like a recipe for disaster. If someone does fall foul of these rules, intentionally or not, what are the ultimate consequences? What's the worst that can happen if you're found non-compliant?
Well, the consequences can really range, but none of them are good for your investment or your peace of mind in Thailand. It could be significant financial penalties, like fines piling up for unpaid property taxes or undeclared income. But in the more serious cases, like the illegal nominee structures we talked about, or major fraud in the declaration, you could genuinely lose the property altogether.
Lose the whole thing.
Yes. Thai property law exists for specific reasons, and ignoring it can have severe outcomes for your investment and potentially even impact your visa status or ability to stay in the country long term. The bottom line is you really need to understand and comply with all the relevant laws.
Which sounds daunting.
It can seem that way, but this is precisely why getting advice from a good, qualified Thai property lawyer is so essential. It's not just an optional extra you tack on at the end. It should be one of your very first steps. They are your protection against falling into these exact pitfalls.
Right. It's clear that having the right legal formwork and the right people is absolutely critical. So beyond avoiding the pitfalls, what are the key legal bits and pieces people need to understand? And who are the essential players you need on your team?
You've hit it exactly. So first, the frameworks. We mentioned the Condominium Act. That's the foundation allowing foreign condo ownership with that 49% cap we discussed. Then there's the crucial requirement for the funds to come from overseas. You'll need that foreign exchange transaction form from a Thai bank when the money arrives. It proves the funds are legitimate, helps with anti-money laundering checks, and is needed for the final registration.
Okay, got that. What else?
And then, probably the most important document, especially if you're dealing with land, even leased land, is the Shinote.
Shinote. Tell me about that.
Think of the Shinote as the gold standard of title deeds in Thailand. It's the highest, most secure form. It clearly shows the exact surveyed boundaries of the land and who the registered owner is. Unlike some other less secure land documents you might encounter, which can sometimes be a bit vague, a Jeannot gives you precision. This minimizes the risk of disputes later on.
So you want to see a Shinoda.
Absolutely. Always insist that you, or more likely your lawyer, inspects the Jeannot thoroughly before any significant money changes hands. Check it at the land department. It's your best guarantee that the property title is clear, the boundaries are correct, and there are no nasty surprises like liens or mortgages attached. This is actually an area where really reputable agencies like Ocean Worldwide Phuket Real Estate, for instance, add huge value. They typically focus on properties that already have these clear, strong title deeds. You can even check out their website for examples of properties listed with proper Shinots.
That makes sense. So the Shinote is key documentation. Who else do you absolutely need in your corner besides checking these documents?
The non-negotiable. A qualified, independent Thai property lawyer. Seriously, don't even think about doing a property deal without one.
Why are they so crucial?
Think of them as your personal property detective and advocate. They'll do the deep dive, the due diligence. They scrutinize all the paperwork, the title deed, the seller's ID, building permits, lease agreements, everything. They check for hidden issues, debts, legal disputes tied to the property. They can spot potential problems that you as a foreigner would likely miss. They represent your interests, nobody else's, throughout the whole process. They save you headaches, money, and potentially much worse down the line.
Okay, lawyer is essential. What about property agents? Are they necessary?
Agents can be very helpful, especially in finding properties and navigating the local market. But you need to choose carefully.
Red flags to watch for.
Definitely. Be wary of anyone putting excessive pressure on you to decide quickly. Vague answers about fees or commissions. Another red flag. Make sure they have a proper business registration. A legitimate agent working with a reputable company, perhaps like Ocean Worldwide in the Phuket luxury market, will be transparent.
And best practices when working with one.
Be really specific about what you need. Ask for references if you can. Always get a written agreement that clearly outlines their responsibilities and, crucially, the commission structure. Usually, the seller or landlord pays the agent's commission in Thailand, not the buyer or renter, but confirm this up front so there are no misunderstandings.
Good tip.
A good agent should also provide you with copies of all the important documents, title deeds, house registration book, any building permits, and be able to explain the legal steps involved clearly. They should work with your lawyer, not instead of them. For instance, if you're exploring Phuket villas for rent or looking at high-end condos, a good agent guides you through the options transparently.
Okay, so assuming you've got the rules sussed out, you've got your lawyer, maybe a good agent, the next big decision is, do you actually buy or do you rent? What are the strategic angles there?
That's a really common question, and it totally depends on your situation and long-term plans. Renting property in Thailand. It can be a fantastic first step.
Why is that?
Flexibility. It's perfect if you're not sure about staying long-term. Or maybe you want to try out different areas before committing. Test the waters in Bangkok versus Chiang Mai, or try living near the beach in Phuket. Renting lets you do that without the huge financial and legal commitment of buying.
Makes sense. What are the practicalities of renting?
You'll definitely need a written lease agreement. It's crucial. Ideally, get it in both Thai and English. But remember, the Thai version is usually the legally binding one. Standard leases are often for 1 year. You'll typically need to pay a security deposit, usually equivalent to about 2 months' rent, which you get back at the end if there's no damage.
And visas, does that matter?
Yeah, your visa status can play a role. Landlords generally prefer tenants with long-term visas for longer leases, as it shows a bit more stability. So if you are just testing the waters, maybe looking at Phuket villas for rent is a great way to start. Get a feel for the lifestyle in those popular expat spots without diving straight into ownership.
Okay, renting offers flexibility. But what if someone is thinking more long-term, thinking about it as an investment, not just a place to live?
Right. For expats planning to stay longer, buying property, particularly a condominium since land is restricted, often makes a lot of financial sense.
How so?
Well, ownership gives you stability, obviously. Freedom to renovate, decorate, truly make it your own. And crucially, the potential to build equity. Thailand's property market, especially in sought-after expat areas, has shown pretty steady long-term growth.
Is there data on that?
Yes, while past results aren't future guarantees, you do see areas, particularly those with new infrastructure like transport links, reporting maybe 8–12% annual appreciation in some years. Bangkok tends to be more stable, maybe 3–5%. Phuket's luxury market, which agencies like Ocean Worldwide know well, has certainly attracted consistent foreign investment interest.
Are there other areas besides the main hubs like Bangkok or Phuket to consider for investment?
Definitely. Emerging locations could offer good potential. Think about Chiang Mai. It has that cultural appeal, lower living costs. Or maybe some of the eastern coastal towns that are becoming more developed and accessible. Getting in early there could be interesting for investors.
And what about current market trends, say, looking towards 2025?
It's always evolving.
Yep.
Recently, we've seen the condo sector, especially in places attracting international buyers, holding up quite well. Maybe seeing growth around 5.6% in 2024 transfers. The low-rise housing market saw a bit of a dip.
What does that imply for investors?
It suggests the condo market, which is the main route for foreign buyers anyway, shows resilience. That's positive. Tourism numbers, of course, heavily influence the rental market. Forecasts sometimes fluctuate. A slight dip was projected for 2025 from 2024's high numbers, which could soften short-term rental demand slightly.
Anything else?
A really big trend now is sustainability. New developments focusing on green features, energy efficiency. They're definitely attracting more attention from buyers who value that, both for lifestyle and potential future resale value. You see this increasingly in places like Phuket.
Okay, so the investment angle is there, especially for condos. But stepping back from the finance and law, finding the right place, the right neighborhood, that feels hugely personal. How should people approach choosing where to actually live in Thailand?
Oh, absolutely. It really has to match your lifestyle. Let's take Bangkok as an example. You've got premium areas like parts of Sukhumvit, say Soi 39, 49, 55, or Sathorn. Think high-rise condos, lots of expats, international schools, great transport links, but they come with premium price tags.
Right. Other options.
Then you have areas maybe considered more up-and-coming or trendy, like Ari or Phrakanong. Still well-connected, maybe a bit more local flavor, potentially more affordable. And for families looking for more space, maybe greener areas, places like Lat Phra or even slightly outside central Bangkok and Nonthaburi, could offer larger houses or townhouses near international schools, often at a lower cost per square meter.
So it depends on life stage and priorities.
Exactly. Digital nomads or young professionals might love the convenience of a city condo. Families settling long-term often look for houses or villas once they're established. There's also a growing middle ground townhouse developments or villa complexes. These offer more privacy than a standard condo, but might have shared facilities like pools or gyms. You see a lot of these in destinations like Phuket, Koh Samui, and Hua Hin.
Key things to check for in any location.
Definitely check proximity to things you need daily. Transport links, shops, good hospitals, international schools if relevant. Reliable high-speed internet is crucial now for almost everyone. And maybe access to parks or green spaces. Always weigh the value against the location. Prime central spots are expensive. Sometimes a well-connected neighborhood just slightly further out offers much better value for your money.
That makes total sense tailored the location hunt. Okay, finally, let's do the reality check. The money. We know the purchase price, but what about all those other costs? The hidden fees people need to budget for when buying property in Thailand. Because it's never just the price on the listing, is it?
You are absolutely right. It's never just the sticker price. There are several one-off costs involved in the actual transfer that can add up. You need to budget for these.
Like what?
Okay, first there's the transfer fee itself. That's typically 2% of the property's officially registered value, often shared between buyer and seller, but negotiable. Then there's stamp duty, which is 0.5% of the value.
2% and 0.5%. Okay.
Then there's something called specific business tax, or SBT. This is around 3.3%, but it usually only applies if the seller has owned the property for less than 5 years. It's kind of an anti-flipping tax. If they've owned it longer, it's often waived.
Ah, okay. That's important to know.
And of course, legal fees. Hiring that essential lawyer. Expect to pay somewhere between, say, 15,000 to 50,000 baht, maybe more, for very complex deals. It really depends on the lawyer and the work involved. Best advice: get a clear, itemized breakdown of all these potential costs from your lawyer right at the start. No surprises.
Good plan. Anything else beyond those transaction costs?
Yes, definitely budget for contingency funds. We usually recommend setting aside maybe 5% to 10% of the property's value.
What, for specifically?
For those initial adjustments, setting up utilities, maybe some minor repairs or painting you want to do right away, buying some initial furniture, just the general cost of settling in during that first month or two. Having that buffer makes the whole move-in process much less stressful.
That's smart.
And finally, really understand the ongoing local cost of living in the specific area you choose. Thailand can be very affordable, but costs vary hugely. Living in central Bangkok or a prime spot in Phuket will generally be more expensive for everyday things, food, transport, entertainment, compared to a smaller town or a less touristy area. Do your research on local costs for your chosen spot. Again, having a good lawyer helps ensure you understand all the fees and taxes involved right from the beginning, giving you that crucial peace of mind.
Right. So, pulling this all together, what's the main takeaway for you listening? Buying or renting property in Thailand, it clearly has its own unique set of rules and considerations. It needs careful thought. But as we've heard today, it's definitely achievable. It's far from impossible. The absolute key seems to be informed, be strategic, and maybe most importantly, be prepared.
Absolutely. That sums it up perfectly. The essential steps really are clear now, hopefully. Do your homework research. Engage a qualified independent Thai property lawyer right from the beginning. Make absolutely sure everything gets correctly registered at the land office. That Cheno Title deed we talked about is vital for land or condos. And please, absolutely steer clear of those illegal nominee setups. They are just not worth the risk.
Sound advice.
If you take these sensible, smart steps and you stay cautious and diligent, you can absolutely find a wonderful place to live or make a solid investment in Thailand. Plenty of expats do it successfully every single year and really build fantastic lives for themselves in this amazing country.
So as you mull over your own potential journey into the Thai property market, here's a final thought to consider. We touched on sustainability becoming more important. How might focusing on eco-friendly developments, maybe in places like Phuket or Koh Samui, not just be good for the planet, but also potentially enhance your long-term investment strategy in this evolving market? Something to think about.